So I want to welcome everybody here today to the third Amplifying Her Voice Global Virtual Summit. We've tried something new this time. We're hosting from an island in the Atlantic Ocean. We're in Bermuda, and I'm so delighted to share that Bermuda Economic Development Corporation has been so kind to let us use their offices to host this summit. And so we have now gathered together 5 of the island's most amazing women entrepreneurs, and they're going to share some of their highlights over the past 18 months, what they've been cooking up in COVID times, and share with the world what kind of innovation's been coming out of here. I'm happy to share that this morning we got a report that we have had about 94 news wires pick up our press release from around the world. So this is not just about this tiny island. This is about the rest of the planet watching what we have to say. So without any more delay, I want to have each of these women introduce themselves, share a little bit about what they've been working on, and then we'll dive into the session. So we can start with Melissa, go straight, and then Danielle, and then Kalina, and then we'll work our way down to the bottom. So Melissa, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been working on?
Sure. Thank you for having us on. It's a pleasure to sit with the ladies here. So my name is Melissa Luby, and I own a business that I started about 3 years ago. And pre-COVID, it was mainly event management that I was focusing on. I'm actually really big in the sports area. That's my niche. So boxing events, and I was a promoter, that sort of thing. So that was where I was. And then COVID, ... So I had, like many, a pivot of sorts to make. And I ended up really focusing more on the marketing and the strategic planning that I do. So during that time, that's what I've been able to do and really grow that. And I get to work with some amazing clients, some of which, one in particular, I can't wait to talk about later in this. I knew you've met that team.
Yeah.
And the innovation that we've been able to come together and create around marketing, but also just being able to keep the island open and moving when it was critical, has been super important. So that's just a bit of what I've been able to work on during COVID and because of COVID, to be honest.
Absolutely. So sometimes crises can be opportunities in disguise, and we're going to hear from everyone shortly about how this has pushed us, not just business wise, but personally to grow in so many ways that we may not have otherwise. Danielle, please share. Like, I've heard so many great things about you and can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah, so thanks again for having me as well. So my name is Danielle Painter. I'm the CEO and founder of the NAB app, which is an online media and marketing platform that's on a mission to inspire people to shop local. In 2020 alone, over $200 million went out of this island to overseas economies supporting overseas retailers. Meanwhile, as we know throughout COVID, lots of businesses shut down, people lost their jobs, and there was just a real gap in the market to show the people of this island how great the retail offering is here, to bring more awareness to the products, and to just make life easier for so many people that were in their home, unable to get out and shop. So I have been doing that pre-COVID, and certainly COVID has accelerated that as more retailers locally have gotten online finally, have been looking to modernize their approach of selling products and connecting with audiences. So that's what I do as my business, and we can talk more about it as well as we get through the introductions.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kalina, we've been in touch since November, so December of last year. And this was my first introduction to Bermuda, and I've just, gone deeper and deeper until I showed up in her office and said, "I'm here." Actually, these conversations have evolved, and through her guidance, we were able to find Danielle and Leah. So this is great, and the work that you're doing to support and nurture women entrepreneurs on the island, it just didn't start with COVID. You've actually been doing this for quite some time. So tell us a little bit about your work and how it's like you've had to pivot too. So we can talk about that.
Okay, so my name is Kalina Otterbridge, and I am the owner of Quantify Consulting Services. So I own my own financial accounting and bookkeeping company that provides services to mostly small and medium-sized businesses. I have a cross range between women and men, but obviously my focus is just making sure that people understand the importance of finances in their business. I also work for Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, as you said. And working with a lot of the small businesses, we realize that people come in for advice, and a lot of them just don't understand how important finances is to decision making. And so that's one of my my passions, is to fill in those gaps of helping people to understand that, you know, you need to know what your finances look like to determine the wealth of your business. So that's a lot of, you know, on my as my own business, but also working with BEDC. I'm involved in the Women's Entrepreneurship Day conference, and we got to speak a bit about that yesterday. But that's an event that we put in on November. And we've just been growing it. The first full-day conference we started in 2018, and we saw about 150 to 160 people. And so my goal is to just grow it every year, and not just to grow it, but just to get more women involved, because we know that there is a deficit as far as, you know, women just get left behind, especially in this world where men feel like they dominate. So my goal is to put women to the forefront and just let people know that we have a lot of powerful women in Bermuda that are doing great things, that are in these big time positions, and we need to acknowledge them. So, you know, that's my plight, is to just put our women first. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 3 years, and just looking forward to what's going to transpire in November for our new conference coming up.
Awesome. And we're looking forward to collaborating with you, amplifying your voice, and supporting in any way we can through all of our digital media platforms, our socials, and our community, most importantly. So we've been building out this community of like close to 3,000 women and now men around the world. So we look forward to sharing whatever you have cooking up on your end. Lorene, Melissa, and Leah, your video went off, and the way to rectify this, since we're connecting with so many people from around the world at the same time, is to refresh and close all other tabs. So if you're running Skype or you're running other applications, it's going to crash the system. And if you all could just close the tabs and refresh. So you're going to come back in. I'm going to let you in again so we can see your video. There we go. Great. Lorene, one more, please. You have to leave and come back.
Okay.
I can still see her, though, really weirdly.
So that means it's being temperamental. It's recording, so I want to make sure we capture her video.
Yeah.
Here we go. Leah's back. And we are going to have Melissa back. Wonderful. There you go. All your beautiful faces. We'll make sure we can record them. And one more. Lorene should be back any second now. So why don't we jump in with Leah while we wait for Lorene to come back? Could you tell us a little bit about what you've been working on and how your trajectory has evolved over the past 18 months?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, Anu, for inviting me today. So my name is Leah Dean, and I am the founder and CEO of Conduit International, which is a woman's personal and professional development firm. I help women show up with confidence and deliver exceptional results. In the last 18 months, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind for me. I have released my new book, which is Assemble the Tribe, which is designed for women to help them believe in their value, find belonging, and really just help them show up in a different way. And so the whole message of the book is really about the power of relationship and how we can accomplish so much more together. And so just being here today, working with all of the women that are on this platform, that's definitely a big part of what I aim to do. I'm also the founder of Design for Impact, which is another one of Bermuda's conferences. So we aim to help women with personal and professional development. And like Kalina, we are also going to be hosting our next event in November. So lots going on. And I think if I had to sum up, the most rewarding part of the last 18 months as I've really started to talk about the message of the book is just seeing the pace at which women are recognizing that in this phase of our journey, it's time to do things differently, and how much can be accomplished when we set aside, maybe some of our insecurities and the other things that get in the way and just support each other. I find that there's an advantage that comes from working together, and that's been a real exciting part of the last 18 months. So that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. And Lorene, you and I had a chance to meet the other day, and feel free to share whatever you're able to share about what you have cooking on your end, but also about what you've been working on pre-COVID would be also welcome.
Perfect. First of all, it's such a pleasure to be in the room with such inspiring women. I am pleased to say that my life has already touched each one of these women on the screen. So I'm all for sisterhood, and I'm all for working together. So I'm really happy to be able to be here to share that. About 18 months ago, I made the plunge from the corporate world as a reinsurance executive to start my own executive coaching firm, Clarendon Wallace. And then about a year later, I opened the British School of Etiquette in Bermuda. In both of those initiatives, I focus primarily on ways to really help high-performing leaders to deal with stress, to be their best self, and to support them. So I work with both male and females, and then I also work with young people. I love working with young people. I believe that the earlier we can develop those skill sets, the better it is for them to compete on the global platform. So it's not about just zeroing in on the hard skills. It's learning what those soft skills are and making them a part of the way that we show up. So it's been a very exciting 18 months. I never envisioned the COVID pandemic 3 weeks after starting, but it's been quite a ride, and it's been absolutely fulfilling and a growth experience. Lovely to be here.
Welcome, everybody. So I will share real quick what we've been building over the past 18 months. It's a podcast app designed for women by women. And we have content around women's health, entrepreneurship, innovation, and it's stories that are global. And what we're working on is a way when you listen and learn, you earn tokens. And these tokens can then be used to donate, invest, spend, or you can save them. And it's teaching financial literacy, but it's also a way for women to invest in other women across borders, across the world. And we've been playing in the space of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Everything is blockchain based. I'm pleased to share, yesterday, Kalina, in your office, I gave you a sneak peek of Amplifying Her Voice. Our new website is ready. So the content that we have from these 3 Amplifying Her Voice summits are then going to be saved and archived on that website. We have an entire digital library. Your session will be included in that digital library. Women from all over the world can access this at any time and earn tokens for watching. So this is a new innovation that we've been working on. And eventually what we're going to do is convert this video into audio files. So those who can't read, many women around the world did not have the luxury of going to school or getting a proper education. So we wanted to make this accessible so they can listen and learn and ultimately share it with the next generation. And there's 900 million girls out of school right now. Some have had access to Google Classroom or Zoom. Many have not, and they're getting hit by the pandemic in ways that are unimaginable, especially my daughter's age, she's 10. And to think of all these girls that are being pushed out of school and their potential, it's just shocking. So everything we share here today, your wisdom, right, is going to be shared with this next generation, not just here on the island. And I know those girls are watching, will have an opportunity to watch you later, but girls in Africa and India and parts of Asia. So really, thank you all for agreeing to be a part of this. And I'm looking forward to even a much bigger impact once this is all over. And Amplifying Her Voice has archived your profiles and will also archive your stories so you can share on your socials and so on and so forth. So I want to dive into the panel because this is the fun part. And it's about looking at solutions and, again, looking at our potential as women coming together during this time, and how we are not just growing professionally, but personally, and just talking about topics where, there has been a work-life balance shift, right? And you've all been building teams and coming up with creative solutions on how to move the needle forward. Each and every one of you have been selected for this session because of that. Danielle, maybe you can start a little bit about the work that you're doing with NABAC. Are you focusing primarily on women-owned businesses? And if so, have you seen an uptick on women coming into digital technologies because of COVID? Have they been fairly responsive?
Yeah, thanks. I'm not focusing primarily on women because my passion is about my island home and making sure that this island continues to thrive and we all benefit as a result. So my mission is really about the entire retail industry. That being said, when we look at new retailers entering the market or new businesses starting, especially over COVID, there's definitely been more women-owned businesses coming up. And I think that's a result of people needing to find ways to supplement their income because Bermuda is an expensive place to live. I think it's partially related to people maybe losing their jobs or becoming redundant. And we all know that women are extremely resourceful and innovative, especially when they have others to care for. And so I've personally seen this surge of women-owned businesses, and I've highlighted them on NAB's website in a blog post if anybody wants to check that out, www.nab.pm. But and then certainly because of COVID and the inability to visit establishments in person, lots of people have been forced, whether they wanted to or not, they have been forced to go online, to use all sorts of digital platforms to connect with their clients and to promote their products or to promote their businesses. And I think all of us in this room have probably experienced that. Whereas, I come from a background of business development and relationship management and really value face-to-face interactions. And then suddenly that was taken away from us, and we had to figure out a way to connect, be relatable and accessible through these digital channels. And as progressive as Bermuda is in a lot of other areas, i.e. insurance, financial services, I think we were a little bit behind in terms of technology with online platforms. So if there was any silver lining out of COVID in that space, I would say a lot of women in particular started businesses and then immediately gravitated. They were not afraid. They just went completely online. And you mentioned Kalina at the BEDC. They have been a resource for myself as well as another innovation lab called Ignite. We've got this great ecosystem of entrepreneurs that have also been willing to help to just teach us. Because honestly, the number one reason I almost didn't start my business was because I had no idea how to start an online business. I was like, I can't do it. I have no idea how to do it. I have no background in it. And I had to just dig deep and ask a lot of people and ask a lot of questions and rely on that network. And then, have been able to kind of continue to grow despite COVID. I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it totally answers my question. And I was actually at an event the other day for Ignite and InnoFund, and there was I think there was more than one. There were multiple entrepreneurs, women-led businesses, and I was speaking to one of the founders of Ignite, and he said, our accelerator, our incubator has 70% women, since this is their fourth cohort now that they were welcoming. They had a cruise on Monday. I couldn't go because I was planning this whole thing and trying to call all of you. But the number of innovations that were in the room was fantastic. And basically, in terms of the support network that you all have here, not just at BEDC, I saw the cohort, where the next cohort is coming. It's you are churning. And, there is a lot of activity here. It's really great to see. And also met with Melissa's colleague, with Colin. at this event, and that's how I got connected to her, coincidentally. So it's like, there is this fabric, which I'm seeing here in Bermuda, which is you all are so interconnected and interwoven, and the size really makes a difference. Melissa, tell us a little bit about some of the highlights that you've had, like on the digital side, like you're working with digital businesses now, and building on what Danielle said about the growth of female businesses.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been crazy. The last, I have to say when you asked that question, what have the last 18 months been like? I actually look back over the last, I guess for me, the last 12 months at least. And it's been nuts. So for anyone not in Bermuda, you mentioned Colin, and Sargasso has been huge in Bermuda space. So I actually sit as the head of marketing and strategy for Sargasso. And I came on board with them just as Bermuda was shutting down due to COVID. So I got to get down and dirty in terms of the tech and learning this app and learning. I mean, we've all used, I'm pretty sure out of everybody sitting here, at least half of us have used the app, and we got to see how critical it was in keeping Bermuda open during COVID, and especially the restaurants and retail. So exactly what Danielle said in terms of the growth of it, it's been exponential, and there was no room for people to question really whether they were gonna on board in terms of the digital space or not. It was at that point, it was a means of survival in terms of your business. So to see that, it's been a pleasure to be in that space. I had a huge tech background. A lot of it is primarily with digital advertising and stuff like that. But with Sargasso, one of the things, and we can talk about the app itself, but one of the things that I've been able to build along with Colin is a media. I was able to open in the doors of COVID and a media and advertising agency that specifically spoke to the digital space. So I do work with Sargasso primarily as their exclusive partner for all of their digital space. I manage the presentation of the app in terms of our, where I sit with head of marketing, but then on the other side, it's that advertising space. We found that with being able to give that digital space, we also created a space where we were some of the only people that everyone was seeing. Our agents, because they became essential services, they were the only people that you and me, when we were ordering something, that we saw for a little while. That was my DHL guy. That was the person I had a relationship with. So in terms of that, if you guys have seen the way that we deliver now, we're actually able to place advertising with our agents that people can tap into. So the bags have actually become a source of advertising space. The digital banners on the app, the website, everything. We've been able to grow that. And I've been able to grow an agency that focuses on that. So that for me was one of the huge things in terms of a quote unquote pivot that came out of COVID, that I was actually able to launch something that I wasn't thinking about doing and do it along with Colin and the Sargasso team. So that was huge. But speaking to exactly what Danielle said about the exponential growth, and we can speak women specific, it's definitely been amazing to see how the technology has empowered women to sell differently. It is huge in terms of, it's great to have, and I can speak as a merchant because I sit on Sargasso from both sides. I sit as a user, I sit as the head of marketing, but then I sit as a merchant as well. I was able to extend my personal space in the strategy space and say, okay, I can also deliver products that women need when it comes to development and organization and focus. So I started to build. I kind of put a pause on that because I had to redirect, what was important at that time. But I was able to open up, and during critical times, especially over the Christmas holiday, get products out there that women, and they are, now that I think about it, they're very women focused. It wasn't intentional, but I bought things that I use in my everyday life to stay organized and to take care of my personal wellness and that sort of thing. And I was able to deliver that using Sargasso. So it's been amazing to see the tech. It's amazing to see what's coming. There's some amazing things happening here. It's amazing to see, you know, how we're building these things. And Danielle's right. We're definitely a little bit behind, a lot of bit behind, but it's been great to see so many people embrace the technology and the things to come. So something like what you're building anew with your team, I can't wait to see how we can now take it and where tokenization becomes an everyday thing in Bermuda. I can't wait to see that. So Sargasso is prepping for that, and we're ready for that. And Colin and I were talking about it the other day, and I'm like, we already have that. Like, there's the wallet option, and ideally that's what the Sargasso wallet is. And so it's just really amazing to grow in this space, to watch other people embrace it, and specifically for this conversation, to see women be so empowered by technology. It's just amazing. I think you're on mute, Anu.
Okay. And that's what's so amazing, because then yesterday, Kalina and I were talking about crypto in general. And and I was in their conference room where I am now sitting, and people were coming in and out of the room, and they're like, "Are you in blockchain? Are you in crypto? We've been doing blockchain. We've been doing crypto." And then Kalina basically said, "I'm in a couple groups," and I started talking to her about her tech, and I'm like, most women aren't talking about this. This is like so far ahead of the game. So, I mean, it blows my mind, like, you know, the level of sophistication, and also, you know, the initiatives that your premier has been advocating. And it's just a matter of time before the women start to pick up. And honestly, this needs to be like a priority in planning. It shouldn't be an afterthought. And, you know, I have been focusing on women for 4 years, and, you know, it's coming, and it's so great to see. Some of you have already talking about it. Some of you are using it. And if you're not using it, you're thinking about using it. So this is really great. I want to shift the conversation a little bit, because, you know, we're talking about tech adoption. There's been a lot of pressure on people to like push the gas on the adoption of new digital technologies, be it Zoom, be it Hopin, like even this platform that we're using here today. I don't know if everyone's used it before, but now you've got a new skill in your wheelhouse, just because we're all part of the summit. And there have been other platforms. Leah, you've been working with your new book, and again, you're working with mindsets, you know, cultural shifts in mindsets. Same with you, Lorene. We'll get to you in a second on the podcast. We'll talk about that in a second. But Leah, I mean, again, a lot of these stories that, you know, women have been going through over the pandemic. Was this some of the content that was included in your book, or your book was published right before the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, right? You're on mute.
It was actually released last year in December, which was right at the beginning, you know, right towards the end of the last year. And it's just interesting how the message really aligned with what we were experiencing as a people, you know, and even as we head out and things start to open up, how do we think about our relationships and the connections that we have to be able to accelerate our ability to achieve new things? And so a lot of the work that I'm doing and that I've done over the last year, in addition to sharing the message of the book, whether it's through speaking or working with my clients who tend to be either women leaders or women entrepreneurs, it's about how do I shift my mindset? Because, you know, as Danielle said, a lot of the issues that we face as women, in addition to some of the barriers, you know, financially, et cetera, sometimes the biggest barrier is in our own mind. And, you know, I always say we cannot give what we have not yet become. And so the real challenge is, can I take the risk to make a start? And then what I'm saying to folks is go ahead and start. And it's impossible for you to know everything, right? You know, Danielle is great at online platforms, and Melissa's marketing, and Lorene's coaching. And, you know, but I don't know, and Kalina's accounting. Well, what if I just touch base with each of them? In that process, you're actually accelerating your ability to deliver a better product, to deliver a better result. So what I do in my work is I've been taking my 20 years of corporate experience, marrying that up with a willingness to engage in technology. So everything that I do in my business, it's all online. And my goal is that as I grow my business, as I onboard new people, they should be able to accelerate and actually deliver results for me within a couple hours. So I just brought on my first my first employee, and within less than 4 hours, she was actually working and churning productively. And so how can we help women build more effective, efficient businesses leveraging technology? And so we have to have a willingness to learn. We have to have a willingness to do things differently. But I think if we also marry that with a willingness to do it together, we will accelerate our ability to deliver better results. And I think that for Bermudians in particular, we live on a small island in the middle of the Atlantic. The market is only so big. And so how do we as a people start to leverage all of this talent to tap into the global community? So that's why I love kind of what you're doing, the conversation that you're having, and what we're bringing to the table. So that's a big part of my work, is how do we come together to help kind of make the pie bigger for all of the women that are here in this country and then across the world. So that's kind of how I see my role in all of this. It's helping to support women leaders, both in the corporate space and entrepreneurs who really want to, through the power of relationship, accelerate their results in whatever. And then marrying that up, last but not least, with a little bit of inspiration, because I believe we are whole people. And while we have the business piece that we need to drive, so often we need the motivation and the mindset shift in order to just give us that extra push to get us there. So I've enjoyed in the last 18 months playing in both of those spaces, both in terms of the lifestyle and the leadership. Just how can we help to inspire people to believe in themselves and that they can do more? And I think with support, we can.
Absolutely. Beautiful inside and out, Leah. This is great messaging. And it speaks to the power of one, and it speaks to the potential. I mean, you may be small, but you can impact the world with some bright ideas, and firm believer in that, and especially the power of women, especially when we use our potential. There's nothing more powerful than an empowered woman. I totally believe that. And with that in mind, Kalina, again, thank you again for this. And thank you, Kevin Richards, for introducing me to Kalina, if you're watching this, because we had an awesome man connect us all together to make this happen, and Aaron Duda for bringing Kevin into my world. So Kalina connected me with Lorene a couple months ago, and we started talking about a podcast. We're still talking about a podcast, and it's about the voices of women. This is something that I'm so passionate about, which is you all have this amazing experience, share it with the world, and the power of our voices at the end of the day to inspire not only other women, but the next generation of girls. And this is so important. Lorene, please tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing in terms of empowering women.
Great. As I'm listening to everyone's story, I keep finding out new things, and that's what's wonderful about sharing and having these conversations. But I was reminded of an African proverb that says, "You strike the woman, you strike the rock," and how appropriate. Just recently, the chief economist stated in the local newspaper here that our way through and out of the pandemic will be through entrepreneurship, and I absolutely agree with that. Whenever you're able to stimulate the economy through small and medium-sized businesses, that's where you have sustainable growth, and that's where you impact the community at the very grassroots level, at the everyday level, everyday mom and dad, everyday individuals. So I am just really excited. Certainly through coaching, I've had an opportunity through what has undoubtedly been uncharted waters for everyone, has been a moment of self-reflection for all, and particularly women, and how they want to show up, not just now, but going forward. And also to be able to support young professionals as well, young professional women who are owning their space and who are trying to determine what that looks like, what their authentic self looks like. And through coaching, I'm able to hopefully powerfully transform mindsets and also transform actions and behavior. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. You know, one of my youngest clients is like 12 years old, and it's really fascinating because her mom recommended that I spend some time with her because she wants to be polished and she wants to speak just so, and she wants to be able, and she had a long list of the things she wanted to do at 12. Actually, she reminded me a lot of myself, and she had action points, etc. And I had the privilege of spending about 3 sessions with her, and it was just phenomenal. I learned so much about where the Gen Z generation is. I learned a lot about what's important to them. I learned about what they need to thrive and what they need to show up properly in this environment. And so I am growing a lot, actually. And I love being in a position to not just support women, but also to guide them in a way that they can just be themselves and embrace their space and own it when they're in it, so that they can really open up opportunities for other young girls. And certainly the Black Lives Movement has been pivotal in terms of, I guess, just blowing off the lid on a lot of issues that we probably thought were not there. And so that too has been an opportunity to have some real conversations about how we can really support each other to show up in all the spaces that women are not necessarily welcome or are not necessarily supported in the way that they deserve to be supported. And coaching is one way that we can do that effectively.
Thank you for your great work, Lorene. This is super helpful and sharing it with the world. And do you have a book that you're an author as well, correct? You've written some books?
Yes. So my first book actually I wrote while sitting I'm an underwriter. So I'm very comfortable with risk everybody. So when I decided to launch my own business, it wasn't, I've started platforms, I've done a lot of business development and created my own books of the portfolio of businesses. So I'm really comfortable with taking intelligent risk. But I was sitting in Lloyd's of London as probably one of maybe 3 Blacks. And I just had this moment of, I don't know, it just hit me that I have to share not just only how I got there, but what it took for me to get there as a Black female, heading up a line of business in Lloyd's of London. And I started writing a book called 29 Keys to Unlocking Your Faith at Work and Win, because my faith is a huge part of what I do. It's the barometer of every decision that I make. And I was able to show in a very practical way how my faith drives and centers and gives me motivation and sets up those guardrails that we really need in order to develop a life that is not only successful, but is authentically you. And so that was the first book that I wrote. And then a few years later, we wrote a book on parenting. I said my husband and I, because I get asked a lot, how do you do it all? You raise 3 boys, two careers. How do you do it? No nannies, no outsourcing. It was us. How do you do that? Keep a career going, etc. So we get asked a lot about that. So we shared that in a follow-up parenting book. So I don't know what the next book is going to be, but I'm working on it.
No shortage of books in with your experience, and that's fantastic.
Exactly.
I'm still working on my first. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I've migrated towards audio. I think audio is my modality of communicating with the world. So this is just a sample, everyone, of what I've been experiencing in Bermuda for the past 9 days. I mean, I came with a one-way ticket. I had no idea how long I was going to stay, and it's been extended twice already. And it's because of the beautiful minds right here on the island and the great work that everyone's doing. And there is this collaborative nature, not just here amongst themselves, but also I think Bermuda is really ready for the world. And would you say that the title of this was Bermuda and Beyond? It's like there's so many success stories that I feel that are going to be coming out of this pandemic, and there are countries in the world where they didn't have the tech before, but then now they're leapfrogging, like a lot of developing nations in Asia and so on and so forth. It's interesting to see what's happening right here on the island in terms of innovation. Kalina, we were talking yesterday about different types of tech, not just women-led, but we were talking ocean tech and different types of things. talk a little bit about where you see the women on the island, really taking a lead position coming out of COVID. Like as we enter the new normal, some things that you've witnessed over the past 18 months.
So I would say for me, I wear a lot of different hats. So I'll speak about them in the different genres. So with BDC, because we help small businesses, and like Danielle and a couple of you have touched on, we have seen so many new businesses thrive out of a necessity of, they lost a job, they need funding. And so, people have come to us for advice. And I would say, I love my Bermudian women because they're so determined. And so if you were to ask of how many women versus men, the women always rein in as far as, starting new businesses. We've seen such a big uptake on women creating and the necessity of doing it online. What other choice do you have when things are closed down? So we've seen a lot of uptake in people starting business, especially women, and forced to do it online and to learn that new way. I mean, everything nowadays is virtual. So we had to come out of it and learn this new way of doing things. So that has been very important. And with BEDC, another one of our platforms is making sure that people understand that you don't just have to sell into Bermuda. We are trying to make sure that your business grows to where you can take it overseas. You don't have to limit yourself to just Bermuda. So I think Leah touched on that, that growth factor. Yes, Bermuda is only a small pool. We have 65,000 people. But if you want to take your business to that next level, you're going to have to think about how do I either get a warehouse away or, that manufacturer away that can do this and take it outside of Bermuda, or, how do we ship it? How do you, so people have called us, I want to ship my products outside of Bermuda. What do I have to do? And so these are some of the things that we've learned in the last 18 months is women starting their business, women even putting their items in the local stores. You're not just selling it online or selling it to people in your neighborhood. They're even talking to the different retailers on the island and saying, can I put your my product in your business? And I would say it's been amazing because a lot of the retail big businesses, they never used to have local products in their shops, in their businesses. But now a lot of them are selling local made products. And so that's good to see because, they're putting back into Bermuda and into the island. So that's been a really good uptake on, just how to pivot during COVID. And then as my head of my own business for Quantify Consultant, I've seen a lot of uptake in women contacting me, I need your help. I'm trying to get my finances together. How do I do that? And so, before I either used to go to their place of work or they'll come to mine and we'll have these conversations. I've recently took on a client where every week we do a virtual meeting and I'm, logging in and we're going through, what she needs to know to run her financial product the right way, to run her business the right way and get her finances up to date. So who would have thought that I would have training virtually through Zoom during these times where you don't necessarily have to go and see someone anymore. You can do it, from the comfort of your home. And even with BDC, I teach the QuickBooks course. And hands down, I love in person. It's really good to see people because you get to, get their feedback and see their facial reactions as far as if they understand what they're doing. But the last, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 cohorts that I've had to do it online virtually. Whereas before, who would have thought that I was teaching QuickBooks, to business owners online? So, I think it's a lot, and I think it's a great lesson learned. I mean, I know that people's had a lot of bad things to say about COVID. Obviously, the deaths and people being sick, has been, really tremendous. But on the other side of it, when you think about the amount of businesses that have started, we are a country that are rooting for entrepreneurs. We're trying to push entrepreneurship. So, if anything, COVID has pushed people to jump, to take that leap, to start that business, to learn technology, to think outside the box. And that's what has been one of the great takeaways, for what's going on. Even my Women's Day conference, the first 2 years we had it at a location. And so the last year I was like, yes, bigger and better. I wanted to have a whole 3-day event. COVID happened. And so who would have thought I had to have an online conference, never done a whole 4-day conference online. And it was still amazing, just as amazing, if not more, because you're able to reach people, people that might not have been able to physically come out because of work or whatever the case is. They can tune into the comfort of their home. We also would normally have people come down for the conference and attend. So we would have keynote speakers come down. Obviously, that's a costly event. During COVID, having it virtually, people can tune in from anywhere. So I want to say we probably had 6 or so international speakers where we wouldn't have been able to afford to have them come down, house them, and different things like that. So that was definitely a great experience to be able to, and then you're broadening their reach, who they got to speak to, and who they got to hear from. And so that was really amazing. So, I mean, there has been, like I said, a lot of things that's happened over the last 18 months that have, just pushed us forward. And I definitely, look forward to that continued success. Another thing that I want to mention is that at the conference in 2019, one of the things that I did look to do was when people registered, they had to say what industry they were in. And so one of my goals for that was at one of the breakouts, I wanted people to connect in their own industry, because we have a lot of times where women or where people, feel like they can't talk to someone that's in the same industry as them, or that they are their competitor, or, I don't want to talk to them because we're doing the same thing. But sometimes making those connections only makes you better. And sometimes building those relationships help you. I feel like there is so much business and so much people that need help that you can't service everybody in your industry. You know what I mean? So I may have 10 clients and another one comes and I'm like, oh, I can't take you, but I know someone else that I can refer you to. And so it was growing that connection and allowing people to know that you don't have to work against people, that we can all work together, and that's within the industry. But then the other thing was, in the next session that we had, was helping people to get together that were in different industries. So like Leah said earlier, somebody may be marketing, somebody may be accounting, somebody may be legal. So I'm starting my business and I need a lawyer. So who are the lawyers out there? Because one thing about Bermuda, we are a small country, but a lot of people don't know who these women are that's starting these amazing businesses and what their skill set is. So you don't know in the room, I may need that marketing person. I can't do it all myself. You know what I mean? So that was another thing that I wanted to bring together, so that people knew who the other people were in the room. And I feel like with Bermudian women especially, they always want more. They always want that connection. And I love what Leah does with her Thursday night. It used to be once a week, and then it went to once a month. But I love what she does with the tribe, building that tribe, building that connection, because we always find that women always want to get together. They always want to bounce ideas. They always want that accountability. And sometimes you can't always get that from home, or you can't get that from your family, because not everybody understands what you're doing. And if you're not an entrepreneur yourself, it's kind of hard to go to your husband or your mom or your sister and be like, oh, I have this really good idea, or, this is what my day is like, because they can't relate. So having that accountability partner, having that tribe that you're building, it just makes things a lot better, because you have someone else that you can talk to. And like I said, at the conferences that I have, women are always like, ours is every November. So what's next? When's the next thing? They're always looking to, communicate, to get with one another. So I think that's one of the really great things about, being in a small island, having those women and just getting them together. So that was the other thing I wanted to touch on was the crypto. That was the last piece that I wanted to mention, was when you had talked about that yesterday, and watching some of the YouTube videos of your past conferences and different things like that. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that era hasn't really been a woman-focused for us in Bermuda. I know that it's something that has been talked about within the last maybe 2 years or less. And so that is good, for us to even try to get in that space and get ahead of the game. Like I mentioned to you, I am a part of a couple groups who are saving in gold. And I've been doing that maybe since 2015, saving in gold and buying crypto. I'm part of a couple crypto groups. And so again, a lot of the people in the room are women. A lot of people that are trying to get ahead of the game and get out there are women. And I feel like we are just, we're go-getters. We're always trying to, make it better for us, create those successes. And so it's great to see us getting together in this platform and just, just promoting women and getting ourselves out there. It's just very important.
All of this is innovation. Okay, you've got some. Kalina, could you shut there you go. Let's see if this helps. So all of us are positioned, like this generation right now, this digital generation, we are so positioned for digital money, and more so our daughters, like and sons as well. Like, so all the kids that are on Zoom and now who've gone through this online learning, classroom, every child that's been a part of this is now being sensitized in some way, shape, or form. So my goal is, next time we do the next Amplifying Her Voice is to tokenize everybody watching. Like, why should you be on another Zoom, if you're not being paid for it? Why should you be watching another video? Why should you be listening to another podcast if you're not paid for it? So ultimately, it's putting the money in the hands of the people. And we've built this platform. Everything has been built on blockchain. So again, we've experimented for 3 months and now we're ready to go. And the thought of, we're thinking about it, you're actually going to receive it. And then you think about what you're going to do with it. So this is like the next phase that's coming. It's the rewards mechanism. And Melissa, you and I hopefully will meet before I have to leave the island. Same with you and me, Danielle, and see how this is going to be a reality, because if I could test it anywhere here, it's with the brilliant women here. You just have to have an open mind, more importantly, an open heart. And again, this is not about us only. This is about our mothers, the people that brought us in, who are also going to benefit from this, from their wisdom. They should be compensated as well. And more importantly, the girls. Let's get our girls sensitized, right? And I can't say this enough. My daughter's playing video games during COVID with all these friends. They're playing Roblox, and I don't know if your kids are playing Roblox, but all they need to do is issue a digital currency, and guess what? It becomes the next crypto that all these kids around the world are playing with. That's basically what it is. So in a way, Kalina, you're absolutely right. It's like that sensitization. It's like once you start getting the hang of it, the adoption's going to happen. We as moms, we as women need to start sensitizing ourselves, because your kids are going to be telling you what it is very soon if you don't figure it out. And that's going to be dangerous. For my wallet, I know that's going to be dangerous. So with that note, I think all of you have such incredible wisdom to share. My most important question is, what advice would you give to young women and girls who have now entered this new digital economy? I'm going to ask each one of you this question. We're shy on time, but take your time. This is going to record until we're all done. So let's start with Danielle, and then we'll work our way around the screen. You're on mute, love.
Man, there's so much advice. But the thing that I keep relying on and leaning on is this concept of collaboration over competition, and the idea that the only way to really move forward and to be successful is through your network and through allowing people to help you. I find so many women from some stuff I've done in the past with trying to bring women together, they keep everything to themselves and they don't share, and they always want to try and do it on their own and then get discouraged as a result, because there's so many other things that we're dealing with in life. And I've just found through sharing and through asking for help and being willing and vulnerable to that, it's allowed me to move ahead so much faster and further than I could have done on my own. And sometimes I have to remind myself of that advice. Actually, as we're all was listening to both Lorene and Leah, I'm like, I feel like I've been a bit isolated through COVID, and I've been trying to do everything on my own, and it feels very heavy inside. And I'm like, you guys are reminding me, why am I doing that? I need to just I know you both, I should just reach out and have some conversations and not be afraid and scared to let people know my vulnerability. So I think that would be my advice to any young woman watching this. Like, collaborate, don't be afraid to be vulnerable, don't be afraid to ask for help. And your network is everything. You're on mute.
Really don't be afraid. And the worst thing they can say is no, right? And I'm proof of that. I've shown up in this country without knowing the soul, and look, everyone showed up. Like, dreams can come true, things do happen. And the first step is like taking that chance and seeing where it can go. And I have a very strong feeling we're going to do some amazing things when we do collaborate. Firmly believe in giving everyone a chance. Like, that's the thing. Leah, advice. You have kids? Do you have young ones, like little ones?
I do. I have a girl, she is 13, and a son who's 15. And so yes, they are on Roblox. So they teach me.
Right.
So as soon as you have the crypto game ready, I will definitely connect them with it. My advice, of course, I have to just co-sign on Danielle, because that is my platform. Our lives will be forever changed when we unleash the power of tribe. But I think the other piece of advice that I would give to a young woman is just take a step back, ask yourself, why am I doing this? And what if I don't take the risk? You know, sometimes we are just so afraid to try, but what if we don't? What if we don't? We are going to stay stuck wherever we are. And I think as women who are raising the next generation, if we teach them how to take those risks, we can truly change the world. So take risk. What if you don't?
A book that Reshma Saujani, who started Girls Who Code, she had like 300,000 girls coding. She wrote a book recently called Brave, Not Perfect. And Brave, Not Perfect is teaching our girls, again, about risk, about not being afraid, that it doesn't have to be like, put completely done. It's like, it's just get started. And we tell that to our boys often, and girls are just so like, oh, it's not ready yet, or I'm not, it's not good enough. But it is that, like, get out there and do it. And you're absolutely right, 100%. Melissa, do you have children?
2 boys, 8 and 10.
Wonderful. So what advice would you give to this next generation that's entering the digital space?
Definitely dream big. That was one of the biggest things that I think I took out of coming into COVID. As we come out of COVID, I definitely think living on a small island, everybody can probably attest to this. Growing up, we often dream within the confines of this island. And it has been, I think somebody mentioned, there was some horror. Kalina, you said, there were some bad things that happened that we've experienced, we're all traumatized after the last year we've had. But if there's any silver lining in it, it's definitely that as a small island girl, you don't have to be limited to this small island. And that has been so huge. We talked about mindset today. We talked about collaborating. We talked all of those things during COVID, I think were amplified more than anything, that you couldn't operate during COVID if you were operating in a silo. You needed to collaborate with somebody. You had to think outside of the box. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to facilitate your business. So definitely to dream big. And I think my second thing, aside from that, would be that you always have something to give. Everybody, I know myself, I had to recognize that you always have something that someone else can benefit from. So don't limit yourself. And that goes back to collaborating, but definitely being self-aware and self-conscious of what your value is, and understanding that there is always at least, we talked about the power of one, there is always at least one person that will be touched by what you do or the value that you have, your skill set, whatever it is, you can touch someone with that. So remember that and let that empower you every day to not be, to be fearless, to dream bigger, and to make sure that you find that one person that you can touch with that.
And every woman on this session is an example of that. So just see, like, look at this. It's just amazing, right? Every single one inspires the other one, inspires the other one. It's just my heart's blowing up with this. It's awesome. And we're just getting started today. Laureen, you've got 3. I know you've got 3. Are they all boys? All boys?
Yes, young men actually. But I'm from a family of all girls, so I'm always looking for opportunities to hang out with women, because that's how I grew up, was with all women. And then now I'm in a household where I'm the only female, even the dogs are male. But I would say, in addition to, there are just some core points about building your social network, around collaborating, around taking risk, not wait for perfection in order to make that move. But I think one of the words that stood out during the COVID, and even now continuing through post-COVID, is the word resilience. And if it's something that I can really spend a second on, is certainly as a mom and as someone that is in a position where I have some level of influence on other women and or young men and or minorities. It's about understanding that a setback is just that. It's just a setback. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. And so just building their resilience muscles so that they can really deal with the obstacles and the challenges that comes with life, that comes with anything that you desire. It will take a lot of hard work, and it may not work out the first, second, third, fourth time. But if you fundamentally believe in what it is that you have to offer, then the resilience builds the endurance, and it doesn't define you when something doesn't work out. You just learn how to do things better and differently the next time around. So getting comfortable with things not working out is okay, and it builds your confidence and it builds your grit. So that would be one thing that I would love for all of us to take away and to teach, apply, demonstrate, is this amazing skill set of resilience. And we've all demonstrated that in different ways throughout the pandemic. And I hope that we will take this forward, because that's what separates the people that are average and the people that are great, is their ability to bounce forward and to move in new and innovative ways.
100% agreed. I had a professor in college. I had a failure. I applied for a Fulbright proposal, and I was so confident I was going to win my senior year in college. And I got the news that I didn't win. And I went and saw him and I said, I'm devastated. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And I was like, my life was over. I was going to be a failure. And I sat down with this professor and he said, the biggest difference, the difference between winners and losers, what is it? And it had to do with a baseball player, Mickey Mantle. And he said, everyone's going to fall. The difference is how fast you get up. That's the difference between winners and losers. And I never forgot that. And he's like, what's your plan B? And I was like, I don't have a plan B. It was better find one. And I took that proposal and I submitted it to Georgetown Graduate School and got a full scholarship. So that just showed me, like, you have to like try. And many of you have pivoted during your businesses. I'm so proud of you. And just, if you look back 18 months ago and say, this is where we are now, right? Like, if you hadn't made that pivot, if you hadn't done what you did, then we would not be having this conversation. So applause to everybody for everything that you've done. Like, seriously, we have to love ourselves. We have to like really, just like take success and be proud of ourselves. Colina, I'm going to give you final words, my love. Like you're like your wealth of information. So advice to young women.
For me, my advice would be, don't give up, strive for more, and do your research. I find that, research is so important. And I would say start where you are. I think one of the things Danielle was talking about, and I think someone else mentioned too, sometimes people feel like they're not ready, or they want to wait to, I think Lorene said it, wait till they get to a certain point. But sometimes you just need a start. So whether that's starting where you are and then you're learning the things on the way, but at least you're doing it. I find so many times where people come and they're like, oh, like you said, they're holding on stuff to themselves. Let people in, let people know what you're doing so that people can give feedback. Because, if you're selling a product and you want people to buy it, if you don't get feedback from people to know if that's something that they even really want, then what's the sense of doing it? So do your research, let people in, but start where you are. I think that's the most critical thing, is just to start and get it out there.
everything from end to end in terms of taking risk, in terms of being resilient, in terms of being collaborative, in terms of just, not thinking too small. It's about thinking big. I think all of these are golden nuggets for everyone watching. I just lost my video. Where did it go? Oh my goodness. Sorry. There you go. I see you. So this has been such a fruitful panel, like six brilliant women, 6 brilliant minds, coming to you from Bermuda and now beyond, right? This is the world, and everybody's open to collaborating. And so I hope this is the beginning of many more conversations, many more collaborations, and just know that, there's innovation in corners of the world ready to like engage, for these larger markets and so on and so forth. I mean, this is the beauty of COVID. It's really like we all are in it together, truly. And there's nothing more powerful than women investing in other women and then sharing just all these wonderful stories and helping one another grow professionally and personally. So thank you all. If there's any final comments, I'll leave it to you guys. But, from my standpoint, I think we have covered everything that we set out to do today. It is 11:11 in Bermuda. That's a lucky number. So everybody, please make a wish. We're 11 minutes over schedule, but it's like a very good omen. So thank you for watching. And for those of you who are tuning in virtually and after the session has ended, please do connect with each of our women entrepreneurs. We'll put their contact info below. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Good day. Bye.
Bye.